It's Tom, our Superintendent of Bellevue Community School District, coming you with this week or month's Believe in the Blue update. It's an update of the board meeting from earlier this week. And after this week, I will start giving weekly updates once again during the school year. I want to let you know of a few upcoming dates. Most importantly for people to know, August 23rd is the first day of school. Leading up to the first day of school on August 22nd, we have an Unpack the Backpack Day from noon to 8. Students and parents are welcome to come at that time to the elementary to drop off their school supplies for the year or the beginning of the year regardless. Along with that, we have Bellevue Middle School and High School orientation. High school orientation from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock that evening, and then middle school orientation from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. All that is on August 22nd, in addition to a satellite voting opportunity for not just parents of the Bellevue Community School District students, but all residents. There's a satellite voting opportunity to vote on August 22nd in the Bellevue Elementary Gym. It's a satellite voting thing, and all that basically means it's another opportunity to vote in place of voting on the 11th of September, and that vote is for the Bellevue Elementary School, or in regard to the Bellevue Elementary School. If you have questions about that, feel free to contact the school, but that will be in the Bellevue Elementary Gym on August 22nd, and that voting will take place from noon to 8 and takes place of voting on the 11th of September. So just want to let everyone know that as a convenience aspect. Some other things just to be aware of that way from the board meeting. We had some resignations. Rick Kozel has resigned from the high school boys track program. Connie Anderson resigned from the food service program. Recommendations to hire were Matt Cook for a middle school football coach. We also have a volunteer coach, Carly Smits, who's looking to be a volunteer volleyball coach. And then some associates that we hired recently were Lacey Van Zuden, Abby Fitzgerald, Stephanie Peniston, Iris Davies, Paula Reed, and Allison Ernst, to name a few that way. Or actually, that is all of them that way. And then some coaching ones we had. They're also just renewing previous contracts. Michael Stein is for assistant cross country, and then Steve Nemers moved from a part-time to a full-time assistant high school football coach that way. Actually did not add any coaches, but we had one coach step away earlier in the summer and just rotating people around within that way. We had a comic curriculum presentation on that day as well, on that night as well, and some things we emphasized there were some 7 core educational beliefs for teaching and leadership. 1 being be present, 2 show that you care, 3 never give up, 4 all students can learn, 5 opinions are valued, 6 outside the box thinking and thinking differently is both needed and encouraged, and 7 empower others for relevant and engaging learning. You may see some of these things hanging up around the school or in the area and stuff like that was said, just so you are aware. Those are pretty basic things. Tied to conversation about employee and student handbooks. We talked about how we added Juuls, as they're called. Basically, it almost looks like a flash drive, but it is basically a vape device. Those are not allowed, along with other things, obviously, in school. Talk about cell phone policies, and virtually, if a student is in school, they need to keep them in their pocket or in their locker unless it's in between classes. That way, we do not want them out during the school day in classes. And we need to have high engagement levels in class. It's only fair for the student and for everyone else around. Some summer project updates we talked about. We completed the parking lot in the middle school, high school, a little bit of touch-up work to do on that way. Some 5th grade carpeting. We had some signage in the middle school and high school. Middle school boys' locker room work was completed with new showers, brighten area in there, and some partitions in between. Also made it more handicap accessible. We have had new ceiling tile and lights in what we refer to as a high school hallway and some hallways leading into that, which made a drastic improvement. The plan is to hopefully update our middle school hallway with lights as well there. Had some change to the elementary rooms, that way moving some things around based on staffing. Expanded a instructional coaches room into a STEM room, basically more hands-on learning. And then obviously the building project, which I'll talk a little bit about later on here. Also talked about our finances. We are in solid financial shape as a district this year. Had some extra expenses that accumulated a little bit this year, but feel comfortable going into the following years with spending the money that we get for students and also saving money that we get for students and having a solid general fund base Remember, general fund money like this cannot be used for buildings. It cannot be used for things like that. That is an off-limits thing to general fund, which is based on taxes ultimately. Excuse me. Talked about the depositor banks that way: Bellevue State Bank, Fidelity Bank, SJet, and Bankers Trust up to $21 million. Also approved the board policy 401.2, which basically talks about tipping. That tipping can, we had set a specification there, 15% and not to exceed 20%. Talked also about an article called What Your Graduates Should Know, and ultimately what that talked about was it's more than math, science, social studies, literacy on online. It's about those critical thinking and problem-solving skills. It's about collaboration. It's about working with others. It's about sharing thoughts with other people in a respectful manner. So that was a longer article than what I just gave it there in a few sentences, but gives you the idea overall. We had a staff welcoming get-together with the board on Thursday evening, actually at Flathead Fifth from 6:30 to 7:30. Update that way, we had 22 of the 275 families in the middle school, high school registered during registration, and 190 of the 201 families at the elementary register. So that's a great turnout. Overall, with students moving in and some students moving out, we're close to the plus 20 range in that category. So that is a positive for our enrollment as a whole. Talk about the Iowa Association of School Boards Conference, how the Bellevue Community School District will actually be presenting on personalization or personalized learning that way. And that is on November 15th. There's a lead-up session to that on November 14th that some board members will attend along with myself. Talk about the Cole Park update and what's going on there. Some building facts I just shared with the board briefly during the meeting. You know, cost per square foot for our building that is being proposed for Bellevue Elementary is about $229 per square foot. The range in our area for new construction is about $220 to $275 per square foot. So we are at the bottom area of the range, which is a good thing for our taxpayers and everyone else as we think about this that way. Drawings, I emphasize, are only conceptual drawings of what something could look like. When we get closer to that, after the referendum passes, we will move forward with that in another way and have more meetings about what should that look like, what should happen, windows, everything like that. Are there too many? Are there not enough? Are there, you know, the overall outside look of it, along with designing the inside at the same time as well. And the goal, even though it's a $16 million referendum, the goal is not to spend $16 million on it either. The goal is to come in under that. And that is what our plan has been all along and will continue to be as we've continued to move forward here. A couple things I want to mention there then. About that ballot issue and tax rates and levy. I'm just going to read something here that I think explains it pretty well. And ultimately, the ballot has two ballot issues. There are two ballot issues to vote on. In order for the project to move forward, they both have to be approved with yes votes by 60% of the voters who vote, actually 60% plus one. That way, in order for the referendum to pass. Ultimately, the ballot asks for the authority, number one, to bond for up to $16 million. But the district, as I said, is hoping there will be less than this. The second question allows for the district to levy at a higher rate, up to $4.05 per thousand. Remember how you do the calculation on that. In order to repay this amount, which will require a levy in excess of the $270, that doesn't have to be passed that way, but we still have to ask for money that way, regardless if we're going to do something like that. Just passing the 405, that levy part, that second question of levying at a high rate, does not give the district the permission to go out at any time and just levy for extra cash. That is not allowed, right? To levy for extra bonding. That is not allowed. We still, anytime we borrow money like that, that part has to go in front of the voters each and every time, just like it is now. So number one, we're asking for the ability to borrow for up to $16 million. Number two, there's a levy that has to be passed this time because it's never been passed before, never been asked before, to go up to the 405 amount that way. So that would not have to be passed again, the 405 part. But anytime we borrow $16 million or $1 million or $600,000, that would have to be passed. I think that's an important part of information to know that way as we continue to move forward. I encourage you to check out the Bellevue Community School District website. in regard to information on the September 11 election. They can also be voted, as I mentioned before, August 22nd, or through absentee ballots. We have absentee ballots here at the school district in all of the offices, at the elementary office, middle school, high school office, and the district office where I'm at. There are absentee ballots request forms. Those are just request forms. You have to send in for a ballot. They'll send it back to you, or you can go directly to the auditor's office, get an absentee ballot, or actually vote right at the auditor's office in the Jackson County Courthouse in Maquoketa. So on that note, look forward to seeing everybody the 22nd to see you at Unpack the Backpack, the orientations, along with especially our students on August 23rd. Hope everyone enjoys the weekend. And moving on, we have teachers back here right now, so offices are open. If you have questions, call, stop in, whatever. If students want to start bringing a few things out to the middle school, high school, specifically trying those lockers, that is fine, but we are requiring elementary students to come with their parents on the 22nd, that way to drop off things like we normally do that way, so they can meet the teachers and have a little conversation that way as well. So everyone has a great weekend. We'll go from there. Have a good one.